Hey guys, this is going to be a new series called Thoughts On, where I will be giving my thoughts on different subjects and what I think can make the game better. Obviously it's my thoughts, so you're probably not going to agree with all of them, and remember it's just my opinion and doesn't mean that everything I say is 100% what should be changed, but it's just things that I think would be cool to have changed in the game. Today I want to talk about dragons because I feel like right now there's a huge need for dragon changes since the dragons right now are not worth much and they're rarely contested. So going into the changes that Riot wants to make in the near future, there'll be 4 elemental dragons and an elder dragon. The fire dragon, the earth dragon, the water dragon, and the air dragon, and the elder dragon that will spawn after 35 minutes. All the elemental dragons give you a different permanent buff, and each buff can stack up to 3 times, so you can have 3 of the same dragon buff, which could be very useful if you get the right one. The types and orders of the dragon spawns are random. Both teams will be able to see what dragon will spawn next by looking at the minimap icon or looking in the pit, where each dragon has a different icon, and obviously it requires you to kill the current dragon before a new dragon can respawn. The elder dragon will be way stronger and harder to kill, but has a powerful buff that will be better with each elemental dragon killed before. Of course we have to go over the buffs that each dragon gives, so we'll start with Fire Dragon. The Fire Dragon gives increased AP and AD starting at 8%. Obviously, additional percentage AD and AP is a great buff to have since it scales with the amount of AP and AD you gain and will only become stronger and stronger the more items and levels you get. The Fire Dragon is basically giving 2% extra AP AD compared to the current dragons that gives 6% AD AP, so the Fire Dragon is pretty much always good to contest, which is a good change from Riot's side in my opinion. And the Earth Dragon gives a buff that gives an additional 10% damage as true damage to epic monsters, and for the people who don't know, the epic monsters are dragons, heralds, and barons, and it also does additional true damage to turrets. This buff is not as strong as the Fire Dragon in my opinion, because the additional true damage does not apply on champions, so in a team fight if the teams were completely even, the team with the Fire Dragons would have a high chance of winning, but the Earth Dragon buff is great for split pushing and taking down epic monsters faster, which potentially could allow you to burst down a Baron or the Elder Dragon before the enemy teams arrives to the battle. I think this buff is mainly good because of the split pushing ability on certain champions, but with the current top laners all being tanky, this doesn't seem like the greatest dragon, and I don't feel like it's going to be contested that often. The Air Dragon gives an out of combat movement speed buff that gives an additional 15 speed with 1 stack. The reason why this is a beneficial buff is because the out of combat movement speed gives you the ability to rotate between lanes and gank faster and just get back to lane faster, but obviously once you're in combat this buff is completely useless, so this is a buff that I don't think people will contest, but I think people wouldn't mind grabbing it if they see the opportunity. If this dragon spawn as the first dragon, it'll be probably more beneficial than this being the third dragon spawning, because since it's flat movement speed and it's not percentage movement speed, later in the game the, let's say, extra 15 movement speed won't matter as much as when people only have the tier 1 boots. Water Dragon increases the health regen and mana regen. With 1 stack you'll regen 10% missing mana and health every 18 seconds. This buff is in my opinion the most useless one of all of them, and I would probably have a hard time figuring out if I would rather farm another minion wave or get this buff, since regenerating 10% missing health and mana every 18 seconds is barely anything, and in a team fight that fight will probably not even last 18 seconds unless it's a super prolonged fight, which doesn't happen often, and even if you reach 18 seconds, well congrats, you've now received an additional 1 to 350 health depending on maximum health and missing health, which is barely anything. Lastly, we have the Elder Dragon. The Elder Dragon increases the effects on the elemental dragons, but killing him offers you an additional buff too. A damage over time effect dealing 45 true damage and 45 more true damage on spells and basic attacks for each dragon killed. The Elder Dragon will not destroy the current elemental dragon like Baron destroying the Herald, which means you'll have to kill the current dragon before the Elder Dragon can spawn. The Elder Dragon will definitely be heavily contested since one of the teams will have a decent amount of dragons killed, so if they get the buff they'll get a huge amount of damage over time, and even if you don't have the dragons killed, it's always best to make sure the other team doesn't get their hands on it, especially if they have like 4 dragons where they do another 225 true damage over time. Obviously all numbers can still change before release date, but it's likely they'll stay the same unless they think one of the buffs is super underwhelming or super overpowered. The reasoning behind implementing the new dragon system is to increase the value of each dragon so teams want to contest it, which I think is great, but I honestly feel like the Fire Dragon is the only one really worth contesting, whereas like the other 3 dragons seems very mediocre. They also wanted more variations of the dragon spawning, so you could potentially get 2 really good dragons in a row, and they'll most likely be highly contested, but sadly that also means you could get 2 of the most useless dragons in a row. I think the randomness is good for the game, but I think with some of the dragons they have implemented, this could be a huge setback in terms of making dragons more contested. Finally, we get to the part where I can discuss my thoughts on what to change to make the dragons more contested. I think the fire dragon with 8% AD and AP will be contested, but for the other 3 dragons, I would want to make some changes. Instead of the buffs that the other 3 dragons are giving, I want them to give 10% additional movement speed no matter what, and another 5 movement speed as long as you're not in combat, so in total 15, like the dragon they wanted to make. But the change here is that you'll still have the additional 10 movement speed in fights, which I think will do a huge difference. For the earth dragon, I think it's not going to be quite strong enough either, so instead of only having 10% true damage to turrets and epic monsters, I also wanted to give a buff that makes people take 10% lift damage from turrets, so you'll be having an easier time dying the enemy team mid game and snowball your lead harder. Water dragon, I think the health and mana regen stat is like completely useless, so I'd definitely get rid of that and replace it with golden experience. I'm not exactly sure how much golden experience the dragon should give, but I really miss the very old dragon that gave gold, because the gold is basically allowing you to get whatever stat you wanted. I personally feel like the elder spawning at 35 minutes is insanely late. I went over my last 20 solo games and I only had one game that was about 36 minutes, so that means like the other 19 games I had below 35 minutes, so I wouldn't even get to experience the dragon buff, and that's why I think it'd be way better if it spawns at 30 minutes. I think it would also be interesting to have a dragon buff that gives percentage true damage, but with a system where dragons can stack, I think this would be way too overpowered, and that's why I didn't use it as one of my potential buffs. It could also be really interesting if you could be able to decide after you kill the dragon, let's say a fire dragon, if you want the stats from a specific dragon, I'll be able to choose from the all elemental dragons, but get 60% of the all dragons buff, and only be able to choose that specific all dragon buff once, unless you're actually killing a dragon that gives that buff. That makes sure that if you're killing a dragon where you really don't want that specific buff, then you can still get something else out of it. And if you're a support playing Braum, then you're not stuck with an additional 8% AP or AD, but you can actually get something useful like gold experience movement speed. How this would work is you kill a dragon and then you'll basically just be able to choose from the 4 dragons, where it's going to say you get 100% of this specific dragon because that's the one you kill, and then you get 6% on the other 3, and then you just do just like a normal level up, you just click whatever you want. These are just ideas, and obviously I haven't been able to test the ideas out, so they're probably not super balanced, but I think the dragon should definitely be changed, because right now I feel like some of them are a bit useless and nobody really wants to contest those. So I think my deers would probably have a positive impact on the game, while Riot still gets to keep their system of the RNG, the 4 dragons and the Elder Dragon. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. I'm still trying to get a grasp on what videos I should have and what content I should have in them, and that's why I would really highly appreciate if you give me some feedback below. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you guys soon again. Goodbye.